I've worked with Katharine Hepburn.
You have, that's
Sure,
right.
I was her chauffeur.
In which movie was it again? I think it was made for TV.
Laura Lansing Slept Here, I believe is what it was called. Look it up.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Shed for another visit with the Shed Dogs. We are the Shed Dogs. This show's about a half an hour of stuff that's of interest to old guys like us who really ought to have better things to do. Rich, you're a cook. You cook all the time. You're the cook in your house. I'm the cook in my house, too, but I eat essentially dog food. Rich actually cooks. And I understand you got a problem with most recipes, and I'm dying to hear what it is.
Well, just a little adjustment on what you said. I'm not the cook in the house, but...
Aren't you the primary deliverer of suppers?
I think primary is fair enough right now. Yeah.
Okay, that's the cook.
No, actually, I was curious about whether I share this with people, because I must not, because every recipe I've ever read does it wrong.
without knowing what your problem is, I'm going to say 95% not shared with the rest of the world.
How could that be? Okay, well, am I experienced? I suppose so, but I think a lot of people are more adept than I am. But no matter what, if you follow the recipe step by step, you're going to end up burning stuff. So it says, okay, turn the oven on. Okay, I can do that. And the oven can turn on and stay on
all day.
You know, it's a bit of problem with global warming and all that. But the frying pan's a little different. You don't want to just leave it sitting on the element burning hot for a while. It's eventually going to warp or whatever. The oil will start smoking or whatever. So what happens is it says, okay, put the frying pan on medium high. And it says, slice up the whatever, right? So then you start slicing. You go, I got to skin this.
Are you catching this, Mo? He's basically saying, put on frying pan and low heat, puts it on, and begins doing the chopping. And an hour and a half later, you're finished doing all the chopping and mixing.
Right. Well, I don't do that anymore, but sure, I did when I was starting, and clearly you don't either. So why is it that the recipes are always written in the wrong sequence? Like, because for me, the easiest way to cook by far is do all the prep first before anything even heats up. And okay, so I'm getting nods here.
Well, that's true.
This is what everybody does.
Well, you got to think that the writers of cookbooks are chefs in their own right, and they have sous chefs. And they've prepared all those little dishes of, everything's just sitting there.
I'd even step back from that. Have you ever tried to write a training manual for anything?
Not me personally.
Holy dynamite, it's difficult to do. You take something that you know really well, that you're an expert at, and you want to teach somebody else how to do it, and you want to write up a step-by-step description of how to do it. It's really difficult because you just always miss steps that you do without thinking. And that's how come those cookbooks are that way. Of course, you're not going to heat the fry pan up at 8 in the morning and leave it on there till noon when you're all finished. But they never think of that. To them, it's absolutely common sense. But if you've never been in a kitchen before, there's nothing common going on in there. You know what I mean? I think that's the problem.
Well, it is true that it no longer causes me problems.
Yeah.
But it did for a long time. Like,
I can remember you ranting about what's a pinch.
Oh, yeah, all that stuff.
A pinch of salt. What's a pinch? Damn it. It's a pinch, Rich. Just stick a little salt in there. It's no big deal.
I made myself a good 5 to 10 old fashions, which require 3 dashes of Angostura bitters, right? And I was convinced that a dash was a drop. And then I finally Googled what is a dash, right?
Yeah.
And then someone actually explains it. That's the beauty of it now. It's either on YouTube or nicely explained somewhere. And they go, yeah, dash is actually quite different depending on who you are. But in general, you're just going to do a good shake of the bottle in there. And I'm going, oh, and the next old fashioned was so good. I was already liking them, but now it's really good.
No, when I saw that one, what's the matter with most recipes? My immediate thought was what's the matter with most recipes?
Fair enough. I take things a little bit literally.
Now go on. Now give us another. That's one thing.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I have just one on the top of my head is the difference between a 1/4 cup of green onions chopped or a 1/4 cup of chopped green onions.
Oh my good Lord.
Right.
I just...
Beating your head against the wall when you read it.
Yeah, and you can kind of figure out 9 times out of 10, you can go, okay, they just said that wrong. They want you to chop it first and then put in the quarter cup, right? Because you can't really measure green onions. You'd have to wrap them into the thing, you know.
I'm just blown away here. Like when you're 8 years old and your mom says, I need a quarter cup of onions chopped. And you take the onion, you try to, well, how do I measure a quarter of a cup of an onion? Do I, like you say,
Yeah, so I've chosen onions, and it's not the best example. And 9 times out of 10, you can just immediately figure out, so that thing, you really do want to put it in first. Occasionally you'll go, I would really like to know if you want me to chop first, because some things you can fit about 3 times as much once it's chopped, but it still makes sense to do it non-chopped as well. So, but anyway.
Like walnuts or something like that.
Oh, okay, I can see that argument, but I cannot see
green onions.
No, onions.
But you gave a good example that I couldn't think of off the top of my head. Walnuts.
Oh,
exactly.
You put the whole walnuts in, or you put the chopped walnuts in. There's quite a big difference between how much will fit.
But then you might get finely chopped or coarsely chopped, and that's going to make a difference too. What was that? Right.
Sorry, that was me. Do you or does someone you love suffer from microphone droop?
I made a mean lemon meringue pie this week.
Oh, that's an achievement.
Well, meringue is no...
that's no slouch for that.
Nope, you got to be careful with that little puppy.
Speaking of having the oven hot and all that,
But to get those little peaky waves...
Oh, yes. Beat and beat and beat, right?
Well, no, sometimes you can go past and then you think, oh, if I keep doing this, it'll get... And it goes farther and farther. Yeah, I see.
That's a way to go.
Okay, well, I'm cooking with Fresh Prep these days. They're not,
the whole thing comes?
Yeah, they're not a sponsor.
But they could be.
And we thought we'd try it out because the price is remarkably low for what you're getting. So we started out when Hannah was living at home. There was 4 of us, so we would get 2 meals for 4 people each for $80. Right, which seems that's $10 a person per meal, but then we found that there were enough leftovers for certainly some lunches the next day, and sometimes for the entire dinner the next day there was enough leftovers. So then that becomes like $5 to $7 per person per meal. And so anyway, we're still on it. Like Hannah's moved out, but we're on the 2 people plan. So even though there's 3 of us, and it pretty well is enough for a meal.
Yeah. $5 to $7 a meal. I mean, that's pretty much as cheap as you can do it at home, really, like on your own. If you go buy the ingredients, and if you take into account waste when you buy ingredients, because you can't buy the exact right amount of onions and all that other crap, $5 to $7 is pretty good.
Right. And so they claim that you can cook it in half an hour. And for me, especially when I was getting started with it, because they have certain cooking techniques that start to appear over and over, but it would take me like 45 minutes or so. But now I'm getting it down, so I really do them in half an hour. But they have you heating up the pan a little bit early.
Those bastards. The good people at Fresh Prep that are hearing this, we're willing to speak very positively about your product in exchange for basically food.
And I think they're losing money for now. That's my guess.
Oh, really?
Like a lot of these startups, their whole model is market share, market share, market share. Get people comfortable, and then finally do the extra monetization, however that is. And I think in their case, the only thing I can think of is raising the prices or maybe offering some kind of, I don't know what they'll do. But for now, it's as cheap as the groceries, because all it really is they're delivering groceries to you, but they're delivering the precise amounts you need. So you don't end up throwing out that.
And you don't do anywhere near the amount of measuring and chopping that you would ordinarily do. Either.
Yeah. Now, on the negative side, there are little plastic bags. You snip the plastic bags open with scissors.
Oh, I can't tell you how guilty it makes me to open a lot of little plastic bags and then go into landfills.
Well, we do recycle them.
What's your favorite ever vacation that you ever took?
Currently, 3 weeks in Newfoundland.
Favorite ever?
Oh my God, I had fun.
In spite of all those pictures where it's clearly really cold.
Oh my God, I had so much fun. Yeah, that counts. I would live there if I could. What a cool place, Newfoundland. Newfoundland, Labrador, went to Labrador too, don't you know?
I think that was 2016 because soon I went summer of 2017 and you had already gone, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It would have been, 2016.
Yeah.
Seems like just yesterday.
We loved it too. We did, I think, 2 weeks altogether in Newfoundland, and that was our favorite vacation of last year for sure.
Well, what about your favorite ever?
New York City.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do a composite because we've been 3 times.
Yeah.
And every time has been just a blast. But the most recent time, I think it was 2015, and Sue and I just loved it.
Oh, definitely the way you talk.
We got a cool little place in the West Village, and it was a 4th floor walk up Airbnb, not a tourist place. So it's just like you're kind of living there, and just fantastic. We bought ourselves transit passes and could go anywhere, anytime. I see they did mixed doubles curling in the Olympics. And Moby, you were talking about that last time. And I saw in the newspaper there was mixed doubles.
Yeah, it is mixed doubles. That's the only doubles there are in curling in the Olympics is mixed. The teams are a man and a woman.
I mean, I've seen the headlines. I'm thinking, oh, it's just two men, 2 women on a team.
No, it's a pair of people. 1 man, 1 woman.
Oh, I have to watch that. That's exactly what these guys were describing, right?
They throw 5 rocks each per end. And it's one of the most watched things going right now.
Well, I'm looking into that before our next session for sure.
Okay, there you see. Promise.
Ready for moots?
We're ready for moots.
So ready.
Here's the first question. It's a green card. And maybe I'll look up in the rules one day what the colors, if there's a difference.
Well, it's good that our audience knows what color the card is anyway.
Which is querulous? Querulous. Querulous. The interviewer or the complainer?
I'm going to go with the complainer.
Me too.
But see, in my head, I went right to the interviewer.
Right, because of the query.
For exactly that reason. Ready? Here's the answer you're waiting for. The complainer. To complain is to be querulous.
Just generally to complain.
There you go. Thank you, John Steves. Who's next? Top card.
Are you guys ready?
Ready.
So ready.
This is a yellow card. What dog type's name means snout in German?
Well,
Schnauzer.
yeah, that's a good answer.
Right on, the Schnauzer. The word Schnauzer comes from the German Schnauz, or snout. That's moot number 705 for reference.
Schweinhund.
Thank you, John Steves.
Schweinhund. Cromer's dad used to say that every now and then to their dog. Schweinhund.
Was he a Schnauzer?
No, he was. That means a pig dog.
Oh.
Schweinhund is pig hound.
Oh, okay.
Schweinhund. He wasn't German, just for the record. He was, in fact, about as English as you can get.
But he seems like he was the right age to fight in the war.
No, he was too old by the time WW2, the big one, came around.
He was a heavy water guy at Kaminko.
No, he was a corporate lawyer. Cromer's dad was a corporate lawyer at Kaminko.
My grandfather was in the heavy water plant, but I imagine a lot of people were, eh?
I thought that we had some connection to heavy water, and for some reason I thought it was Cromer's dad, but maybe it was your grandfather. Maybe that's where I'm...
Yeah, he had a senior position, the superintendent type thing.
Oh.
I'm not sure if he was... I don't think he was the head of the whole thing, but he would have been the head of maybe...
No, they had plant superintendents for sure.
The plant guy, and all the trades would report up to him.
Yeah, my dad was a plant superintendent of the... I want to say the hydrogen plant in Warfield. Back in the days when they used to pipe gas all over the whole plant to do welding with. Like they got oxygen as a byproduct of one of the chemical processes in making fertilizer, and they'd capture it and compress it, and same with hydrogen, and pipe it all over the place so that guys could just hook up and do welding. And those pipes were all over the place. When we were all working there, they were there, but they were no longer in use. They'd gone to canisters by then.
I remember them.
Yeah.
Cromer's dad was a lawyer?
I believe he was a corporate lawyer, yeah.
Oh,
he was.
That's fascinating.
I hope I haven't got that wrong. Cromer, if I got that wrong, I'm sorry. I thought that's what he was, though.
Well, we'll be checking that one.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
It is indeed.
Schweinhund.
Okay. And is this one for the masses or is this one for us?
No, the last one's for the masses.
Okay, boys, here we go. What creature's name means holy flatfish in Middle English?
Uh-huh.
I got nothing. Nothing at
Well,
all.
I got a guess, but it is really just a guess. And it's because halibut are flat and hal at least sounds minorly like holy.
Hallelujah.
Well, that's a nice guess. That's
is.
way better than I got. And it is a flatfish.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I'm thrown off by the creature part of it.
I'm throwing in with Rich on this one.
You do that all the
But
time.
I know I do. It's because my whole life, if he goes off a bridge, I'm over. Like,
Oh, no. I listen to all those old moots, and I sound super confident, and I'm wrong.
I'm throwing in with you on this one for sure.
Okay, let's go.
But
Skin.
hang on, but it doesn't sound like a fish to me, that's all. But anyway, I'll stick with halibut. Yeah.
And big drum roll. Everyone ready? Halibut. This word, the word butt, B-U-T-T, was the common English name for the flatfish,
Oh, there you go.
as opposed to the posterior that we sit on. Butt actually meant flatfish. Thus, the largest flatfish, which was saved for holy days, was called the holy butt, or halibut. This is moot number 822 for reference. Rich?
You caught that.
Oh, and that was a blue card, by the way.
I sense a spreadsheet in the works.
Okay, we're going to go send this one out to all our listeners. And this is a red card. It's supposed to be tough, but you never know.
I think if we get sponsorship from somebody, we can then start offering prizes to people who get these right.
Nice.
So those of you who are responding to this, think about sending some sponsorship stuff our way, and maybe you'll get a cut.
Just a reminder for our audience, no Googling now.
Okay, so
It's the honor system.
It's the honor system.
We're old school here.
Here we go. Is the bartender's purebred schnauzer a beer hall pooch? Coincidence that we just got schnauzer and schnauzer back to back? Here's the question again. Is the bartender's purebred schnauzer a beer hall pooch?
PJ, why don't you tell our listeners where they can send their answers?
Answers to those, you can go to wearesheddogs@gmail.com. That's wearesheddogs@gmail.com. And I just want to remind our listeners, no Googling. Okay. RJ, you've put on a list of subjects here something called Canada's Apology Act, and I think I want to know what that is, although...
Did you know, and I think this is just fantastic, that Canada has an act. It's called the Apology Act, and you can read it in full. We'll put that in the show notes. It's not a long act. I love it for its simplicity. Like a typical act is going to be 20, 30 pages maybe. This one is like 2 paragraphs. And what it says is if you've done something wrong to someone, you can apologize to them in public, and they cannot use that against you in a court of law. So it's like, I'm sorry I drove over your dog. I'm really sorry. That apology is excluded from a court of law. And the great thing about it is, I don't know if you've noticed, but in the States in particular, when someone does something wrong, they have those fake apologies. I'm sorry if you misunderstood the words I was using.
Yeah, I'm sorry you were a total butthead and caused this whole problem.
I'm sorry that... so anyway, part of that, and not completely, because politicians never like to be wrong anyway, but part of that is you can't legally apologize in the States without basically opening yourself up to, okay, they have admitted that they're wrong, therefore they can be sued. So what I'm saying is next time you run over somebody's dog, somebody's schnauzer, you can tell them you're truly sorry. And I know you would anyway, but you can also in the back of your mind, maybe it's not your fault anyway, but you can still say you're sorry to help someone through something. Right?
I want to understand though, like if you say, I'm sorry I killed your husband, that's not admissible as saying I'm guilty. Is that right?
That's right. The lawyer would try and blurt it out, and then there would be an objection, but the
damage would have been done.
The damage would have been. Yeah, no, but
it's not really what it means. So a way for you to acknowledge guilt but not have that count in terms of determining your guilt.
Right. And now that I've thought it through a little bit more, I think it most applies in gray areas where you may not even have convinced yourself yet that it's your fault, but you can go ahead and tell someone you're sorry just to be a human being about it, right? And then you don't have to worry about, well, that seals it for you, right? What if they decide to sue? I think that's the first thing on a lot of people's minds is
civil action.
What if I get
legal.
sued? Yeah.
That's, wow, I've never heard of that one before. That's kind of an interesting thing.
The Apology Act. I'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Isn't it redundant to put into law that you got to apologize in Canada? That seems stupid. But that's not it at all. Oh, geez. Hey, there's a thing here, the flying steam shovel. So this is interesting. In the town we grew up in, I heard a story when I was a kid, and you guys no doubt heard it too, that some guy in Rossland, years and years and years before real helicopters were ever invented, developed a working prototype helicopter and crashed it.
Flew it and crashed it.
Yeah, and in the ensuing decades since I heard that, I've told that story to, I don't know, maybe half a dozen different people and met with just universal scorn. No way that's true. Who sent that link? Who sent the link to the real thing? Well, we did. KJ, fill us in here.
Well, I'll say exactly what you said, is that I heard it growing up, and I thought the first thing that you get in your head is a steam shovel and just how big they are. That's what I had in my head, and I thought, no, that's just... But then when you read the thing, you realize the write-up is that this guy built a steam engine. I don't even remember what it was, but obviously it was all pared down as far as the steam shovel weight was, but when somebody looked at it, they sort of described it as that it was kind of steam shovel-esque or something, but obviously lighter. And I can't imagine. I mean, if you think about materials and and just the mechanics of some sort of coal-fired, wood-fired, something-fired, that you got to lift that in the air, the propellers would have to be massive, or
Apparently, it was a big thing.
But anyway, and they say he went kind of straight up with it, and it got off the ground and went up some. What
I thought the article said 200 feet or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really surprisingly high.
And then came down and crashed, and the guy
broke his leg.
Yeah,
was laid up in hospital and then left town and went to work in Spokane at a haberdashery.
That's right.
Like, I just thought, what the heck?
Because I read about it first in that old book published in the 40s called Rossland, the Golden City. And that was the book. You and I, PJ, we used to talk about that book because it had a number of other cool little factoids about Rossland. But when I read it, I'd kind of forgotten over the years, and I developed a theory or a belief that he'd forgotten to have a stabilizer blade, the little blade that's at the tail end of the copter. And because it did happen that he got up 100 or 200 feet and the whole chopper started spinning, right? Now things are going crazy. But then the article that you sent, which we'll provide a link to in the show notes, actually explains what was going on. He had thought about the stabilizer. He knew about it, but he couldn't quite reach the proper lever to get it going right. And it was a single cylinder and it was stuck in a single location. The blade was stuck and he couldn't just start it up. It needed to be...
Oh, is that what it was? I thought in the article he couldn't get to the steam valve that fed steam to the stabilizer prop, like what would be now the tail rotor. And as a result, he couldn't make it go faster to make himself stop spinning. And then he cut too much steam to the big one. And I guess one of the real problems he must have had is there's way too much lag time between cutting off power to a propeller and being able to restore it. And in that article they had, so yes, we did read about it in that Rossland, the old days. And the reason I believed it, because that thing was edited by Jack McDonald, who was a family friend, right? Jack and Berva.
Is that right?
Yeah. My sister used to take, I believe it was piano lessons from Berva. Anyway, he was a fixture in the Rossland Museum forever. Really well liked and very well informed guy. So I thought, well, if he said it in that book, it must be true. But in the article you sent, Moby, they had an affidavit that was Father Mac. So there was a Catholic priest, McIntyre. He later became a Monsignor, but he was a reputable guy. And he interviewed people who had actually seen this thing fly and got affidavits from them in that article about what they had seen and who the guy that flew it was and the whole thing. It looks like it was really true, which kind of just blows me away. Rossland, home of the flying steam shovel.
Streets are paved with gold. Home of Nancy Green.
Okay.
They never said that in the book, but I decided I was going to start saying it because they used low-grade gold ore for the road beds.
Thank you.
Because it was just cheaper than going in.
Thank you. In the heyday of the mines, they took mine tailings and used it as road bed. And then when the mine shut down in 28, in the Depression, guys went through the real tailings piles outside the mine and recovered something like $1 million worth of gold in 1930s money. So all of those tailings that they used to do road beds, low grade ore. Probably these days is not low grade, though. That's kind of cool.
Did I tell you about my Powell Books episode down in Portland?
Tell us.
Powell Books, the world's largest bookstore, always fun to go to. Even though I'm not reading a lot of books, I still end up buying them just because it's such a great store. I get all excited. And Sue just loves it. So when we're in Portland, we even go a couple times, even in one visit.
Wow.
And so off Sue goes, and I'm in a waiting area. So I'm just going to read my Moby Dick I've bought, so there I am.
Randomly.
Yeah. And on display is Hillary Clinton's new book. Was new at the time, be about 3 months back. I think she published a book, What Went Wrong or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And there's a guy, an old guy. He's like, I'd say 70, but he's kind of spry. And he's making fun of the book. And his wife's just chuckling away. And they both seem kind of like nice people, but I can just tell in an instant that they're both Trump voters. So the guy takes off, and I just strike up a conversation with the lady and really enjoyed the talk with her. Saying, I'll bet you voted for Trump, right? And she goes, oh, absolutely. And we're just chatting about stuff. And she's saying, yeah, because Hillary is just so evil. She's corrupt. She's really bad. And I said, well, so do you just watch Fox News only? She says, yeah, that's all I watch. And she laughed because she knew exactly what I was getting at, which is funny. So now I'm forming an impression of them that they're both nice people, and maybe they're a little racist or whatever. And then up walks 3 women in hijabs, and they're smiling and talking to the lady, right? And then it turns out that they're the daughter-in-law and sisters of the lady's son, who's quite a liberal guy. And she says, oh, yeah, we have great conversations at the dinner table. And it just was kind of a special little moment there. I kind of enjoyed it. I do have all kinds of biases, and sometimes delighted when I'm surprised. And there she is, accepting some clearly Muslim ladies into her family.
Well, it's also kind of funny that she's really comfortable knowing that watching Fox only reflects a really heavy bias and closes her off from other sources of information. And she's okay with that. She just, Fox only, that's it.
Should we talk about Bob Cole and the Montreal Canadiens?
Is he doing them again?
Oh, my God.
What's happening with Bob Cole?
Well, he's really old.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, so I retook up the Canucks, say, 4 years ago now. Started listening to them again. And when I did, I started looking at other hockey because, as you're clicking around. Or it must have been when the Canucks were actually playing in Montreal, and it was a Saturday night CBC Hockey Night in Canada, and Bob Cole announced it, and I thought, I remember a cannonading save, right? He was famous for that. Like, he was a good announcer when he was a good announcer. And I thought, oh my God, this guy needs to retire. He says, oh, and there they go, and they're getting it out of the zone. Stuff like that. He doesn't. Well, if he knew the Montreal players, he could say them, but he usually didn't know the other team. So I thought, why hasn't he retired? And I think I just punched that into Google. Why hasn't? And I see this comment, somebody just complaining about Bob Cole. Why can't we get rid of him? It's 7 years old when I look at it. And I thought, oh my God. And then 2 years later, Ron McLean says, and we're so thrilled that Bob Cole will be joining us for another season. And I thought, no, please.
Well, this is what happens when you reach institutional status.
Yeah.
Which is he has, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure he's revered throughout but I just thought, it's just so painful when you're.
So he just can't keep up with the play? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, he can't keep up with the names, and he's watching the game, and he says, "Oh yeah, they're getting it out of the zone, and now they're going into that other zone." It's just kind of hard when you're expecting the. Anyway, that's my little rant about Bob. May he work until he's 102.
Hey, what was your one day of filming about?
It's a new Bruce Sweeney film. It's really an interesting script, but the lead is Colleen Renison.
Oh, nice.
Really?
And I thought, that's so cool.
That's very cool. She's back acting.
Yes, she's the lead, but she's also a singer in a band in the movie.
In the show, right.
So that kind of ties them all nice together. And I won't work with her. I probably won't even see her, but I just thought that's kind of cool that she is the daughter of somebody's we grew up with. Mm-hmm. And
that is cool.
That's cool.
You also worked with George C. Scott.
I did.
Imagine. It just goes on and on with him. He knows all these famous guys.
Who were once famous, and now I'm sure the youngsters won't have a clue.
Famous, just not for his role as the captain in Titanic. At all.
It's a good session, boys.
That was a good session, actually. And that's it for the show. Thanks for being here. And as always, if you like us, subscribe using your favorite podcasting app. If you have any thoughts, questions, suggestions, or especially money pledges, please get to us through our website at sheddogs.ca. And if that's not up yet, by some miracle, you can email us at wearesheddogs@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, this is...
Who, me?
It's like butter. We're just pros here. It's just... Yes, you. Who are you?
RJ.
Thank you, RJ. KJ. And PJ saying, be safe, sure, but be happy.